everybody, today our lesson is going to be about the author's organization. And just so we know what our goal is, our learning target is, I can use the way an author organizes information to determine a main idea and supporting details. All right, so let's have a little flashback here to our review of orders. We start with our order of operations. So when you are asked a question that you have to figure out the answer, we start by looking at the text and looking at the evidence, seeing what that says, adding our own thoughts and analyzing and trying to put it together, and eventually coming up with our claim, our one-sentence answer to the question. And then we're ready to report that answer back. We do our order of presentation, the way we write our paragraphs, with the claim first, the evidence, and the reasoning in some kind of variation. However, let's face it, as great as that format is for answering short answer questions, it's not the only organizational type that's out there. So authors will use a variety of organizational formats depending on their purpose. And the two we're going to talk today is OER and ERO. Now, I know I'm throwing more letters at you and acronyms and things like that, but this is actually going to be super familiar. So let's look at what these letters mean. First, O is opinion, E is evidence, and R is reasoning. So we already know the E and R. Our big change is that O, opinion. So what do I mean by opinion? Well, it's the author's opinion, their point, or their lesson. So what we mean here is when authors are trying to write and get information across to you, and they want you to try to understand their point, sometimes they'll start with that opinion or main idea, and then they'll show you the evidence and reasoning why they're right. Sometimes in longer pieces that works, and sometimes they want to flip it around because they want you to come to the same idea by showing you the evidence and showing you their thinking, and then coming up and say, see, now altogether it comes up to this idea. So there's two ways of doing it, and both work really well depending on a writing style and what the author chooses to do in the longer text. We're sticking to CERs for our answers. But here's the idea. That opinion that we're talking about really is the main idea of the text or the section, but in the author's words. So sometimes it might not be one sentence. Even though in informational text, the authors do want you to know their point. Sometimes, though, it's not super clear, and other times they will actually outright tell you their point. But those times they don't, it might be more than one sentence, or you might kind of have to infer it and re-put it in your own words. What does this even matter? Why does actually stopping and trying to figure out the order of organization help you? Well, when you're stopping and thinking and focusing on this, you actually also will really notice evidence. You're really going to stop and focus on what is the author actually saying, and by slowing down and breaking those things down and looking for, do they start with their opinion and what do they say, or do they start with evidence and end up with the opinion? Eventually, you're also going to notice possible main ideas as you go. All right, so let's look at an example. So we're trying to decide this way if this is and what type of order this is going to be in. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to see if I can get a little highlighter up here. Let's go to purple today just because. All right, so every word has to go into itself. That sounds like some evidence, maybe a main idea. I don't think that's kind of opinion, but not totally. And when you talk about some words coming part of our vocabulary, giving specific examples, all right, that sounds like evidence right there. And we're getting to the first use of pumpkin spice. All right, I'm looking, and in the next one, I've got another example. Examples are a type of evidence. And then now we're kind of going into some explanation. We're giving reasoning why we care about this. And then now we're going into some more reasoning where we're still talking about it, saying that we're borrowing from other languages. We're explaining how the evidence, what it means, what we're supposed to care about the evidence. But then I'm noticing down here, it says when something is anglicized, it is influenced by the English language or culture. Okay, and then we're getting to a quote. The English language has an amazing capacity to absorb words, just like the culture incorporates different foods. I'm pretty sure that's our O, that's the author's opinion. Now, I know it is in somebody else's words. It's a direct quote, so it's not exactly a main idea. I'm going to want to rephrase that into my own words, but it is certainly sticking out as the opinion that the author wants me to pay attention to as it's proven evidence up to this idea at the end. So by stopping and focusing and noticing that it's E and R, that we start with evidence, do our thinking, and come up with an idea, I know that our main idea is going to have something to do with that last sentence, and I'm just going to rewrite it as a clear main idea. So again, we want to stop and look at this one. In this case, it's an ERO, to really take a chance to focus on the actual text and the things that are being added in there.